What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr War Games, and today I'm actually bringing you an update to the budget profile that I did the second this structure deck dropped. Now I've had a lot of questions in regards to some of the most recent variants that I've put out there, and people are asking for like budget alternatives. So for what I do is I'll put a structured list together, now using everything I've learned and kind of developed with this deck to show you where you can start and how you can do it. Now, apart from the extra deck, because that's where most of your money is going to go, these, so there's like less than 10 cards, are the only cards you're going to need to buy. Everything else here comes in the structure deck. That's how insane this deck can be without having to splash huge amounts of cash. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into this profile. So if you're looking for a budget alternative, then this is the one for you. Even whether you are going to net deck it or whether you're going to use it as a structure to build upon yourself and then start slowly investing into, I feel that this build has a very nice balance of going first, going second, using a small amount of dangers, and if you're like, I don't want to play dangers at all, there are other alternatives for you as well. So, pretty standard in all of my DarkWorld builds. I am maxing out on Snows, Rainbows, Gentas, and of course Greffers themselves. We max out on those, freeze of everything. Like I've said many a time before, these are the cogs that keep the deck turning. This is everything you need in order to keep it going. Snow searches out pretty much every card in your deck for the DarkWorld. Greffer is your boss monster needed for the fusions. Rainbow pretty much searches out your boss monster for the fusion, and then your Genta is your draw card, your setup card, everything you need card. We are then playing 4 one-offs, so you've got the 1 silver, the 1 gold, the 1 cerulean, and the 1 beige. Now, the reason I put beige in here is because it actually helps out with Catalyzer. It technically turns into like a 2-card rank 4 combo, so very easy, very direct. You don't have to play it if you don't want to, you can cut it out completely. That is entirely up to you. But pretty much maxing out on everything like this is all you need. So when you look at it these ways, the reason we play gold and silver is more so for their second effect and just bouncing them back to the hand. And the reason we play beige is to help utilize the rank 4 toolbox that you can start to use in this deck as well, opening up more budget options for you or more invested options depending on how you want to take it. It's all entirely up to you that you can work on through the back of that as well. Carrying on to what else is also included in the structure decks, we do play a small danger package. Now you can adapt this package as much as you want to. If you want your deck to focus on going second, then you'll probably max out your Bigfoots. If you want them to be going like a rank 4, rank 8, if you want to start putting in more consistency and start investing into stuff like Nessies and everything else, you can do. But we are playing 2 Mothman, 2 Bigfoot, 1 Thunderbird, and 1 Sukanoko. So we're not letting the Danger Engine dominate the deck. We still play cards that utilise and let you discard the cards, so you don't rely on the dangers massively. And with the RNG factor that the dangers provide, some people don't like using them, and I completely understand why. The issue is, dangers are the only kind of card in the game that allow you to technically trigger off a DarkWorld and replace itself. So when you hit a DarkWorld off of these, as long as that DarkWorld is ideally going to be something like the Snow or the Rainbow, you're able to replace it. So you never really minimise your hand from 5, you always stay at 5 and keep on going. Continue on with the other cards that are in the structure deck. For the spells, we are playing 2 Ascension, 2 Gates. I am now playing the 1 Charge in the DarkWorld. So this is something that I'm trialing out. Annoyingly, it only lets you target your level 4s, but that's where beige comes back into play as well. But what it does let you do, I mean, you can target your cerulean if you want to, but it's neither here nor there. What that does allow you to do is it will also allow you to trigger a DarkWorld. So it's one of them ones that if you draw it off of a danger, but you've discarded a DarkWorld, you can then activate it to bring back the DarkWorld and then discard another DarkWorld, triggering an additional effect. Keeping in mind that all the discard effects of the DarkWorlds are not once per turns. The only thing that has like a once per turn clause on it is Genta, and that is it can only be special summoned once per turn. And then when you look at Cerulean, ideally going first, the only target you really want to be discarding off of Cerulean is your silver, and when you do something like that, you need to get the silver back to the board so you can then loop your resources and then have it back in the hand next for the good turn. Cerulean can be, of course, discarded during your opponent's turn, and that's where gold comes into play and lets you push further forward from that way as well. The last 2 cards we've got is the 1 Archives and the 1 Brainwashing. So in a version like this where you kind of want to maintain a bit of control as well, Brainwashing isn't so bad. The only issue is you need to be able to hand loop. And what I mean by that is you're not hand looping your opponent, you actually need to hand loop yourself or be able to regain your resources, and that's where the Rainbow Greffer combos start coming into play. If you haven't seen them, there are plenty of videos up on the channel showing you those combos as well. So make sure you check them out, and you'll see the brainwashing is very specific, but that's why you kind of want to make sure you complete that loop and complete that resource management. And then you've also got to make sure you leave a DarkWorld on the board. So it's remembering so many different little clauses to make brainwashing as effective as possible, which is why you need to kind of be very careful with it. So that's it for the cards that are in the structure deck. So everything like this, you buy 3 structure decks, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're pretty much nearly there. After that point, it comes down to your playstyle and what you want to use as your normal summon. So for my normal summon, I actually went with 2 Fairy Tail Luna and 2 Lava Golems. Now, of course, you can play Fabled Raven, which comes in the structure deck. If you do so, that will then adapt your extra deck to playing more synchros. However, the best synchros in the game are slightly expensive. Like when you look at Baron de Fleur, that's your best level 10, which is one of the easiest ones to be making. When you look at level 8s, again, the best ones are stuff like Savage Dragon, which can be purchased below £10, but again, you're still putting in a decent amount of investment, and you want to make sure that your level 8s that you're choosing or your level 10s or anything like that are as consistent as possible. So what I've done is I've gone with two Fairy Tail Luna and 2 Lava Golems. So I've got a go second option and I've got a go first option. Now before everyone screams at me and goes, Lava Golem technically isn't a normal summon. No, but it doesn't allow you to normal summon or set that turn. So the way I treat it, and the best way to kind of explain it to people and get into the mindset of, if I summon Lava Golem, I have technically used my normal summon, is to treat it as a normal summon. Obviously, on the back of that as well, Lava Golem does get additional utility because you do also play trading, which can be very, very good for your dangers as well. It can put you your DarkWorld level 8s into the graveyard to re-loop, to recur the resource, but you don't really want to be doing them if you have another option in the hand, unless you desperately need it to the graveyard, and then you go with it. The other card that isn't in the structure is, of course, Salamander Catalyzer, alongside 2 Allura Darknesses and the 1 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. Now, Zephyros is just an insanely good card to be discarded off a danger, because then you get to loop that danger back again, and you get to use it again as well. So there's a lot you need to kind of keep in mind with it, and to make sure you don't overstep the mark with it or kind of misplay anything like that. But it is also a level 4, so it does help you with your rank 4 capabilities. Salamander is incredibly cheap as well. That's what really, really makes it such a good card for this deck. Is not only is it cheap and very useful, but it helps you trigger off your DarkWorlds as a controlled aspect. So if you're like, I hate the dangers, I'm never discarding what I want to discard, well, that's exactly where the Salamander comes into play, because it will allow you to do that for you, and then kind of give you everything you need. Not to mention, like I said, that plus Beige is a 2-card rank 4 combo. So if you're like, you know what, I've got no dangers in my hand, but I've got a Salamander and a Beige, and I really want to get to Daguerre's to draw cards and then discard more cards and trigger more danger cards, that is one way to do it. If you know your opponent is on tier elements, or you're even in the mirror match and you know they cannot play through an Abyss Dweller, that is just a very easy way to do it. Whether it is the first thing you do or the last thing you do, as long as you haven't locked yourself into Fiends in order to get to the Abyss Dweller, you're absolutely fine. Allura Darkness is just the most, not generic spell, like draw card, but for this entire deck, it's the most effective and consistent draw card. Everything you play is darks. Yes, you don't want to be banishing stuff, and I guarantee one of the first questions I'm going to get on this video is, why am I not playing Puppetry? Well, Puppetry is a very good card to play. However, I don't feel that it is as utilised to its max potential as of yet. So I'm just trying to find a copy of Puppetry so that I can explain exactly what it does, and then explain why I'm not using it. You can make this deck go control if you want to keep it on a budget as well. That's not really too hard to do. That's where your skill drains come into play. That's also where your deck devies can come into place as well. So Puppetry is target up to 3 cards in any graveyards, banish them, and then discard a Fiend monster. During the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you get to banish this card from the graveyard to target one of your banished Fiend monsters and add it to the hand. Now that's kind of cool, but you can only activate 1 Puppetry effect per turn. So the idea is that during your opponent's turn, you activate the effect, you banish from their graveyard, basically triggering like a triple DD Crow effect, and then during your turn you get to banish it and bring back the Greffer that you would have ideally banished off of Ascension. Now, what I'm trying to say about with Puppetry is, unless I'm in a specific matchup that I want to clear their graveyard off, I'd rather search out Brainwashing. Now, obviously, if I'm in a tier element matchup, this card can come straight in. Because I search it against a tier element matchup, I set it, I know I've got the ability to triple DD Crow them, which can be incredibly powerful. If they activate one of their mill cards and they hit up to 3 targets, I just go, cool, boom, 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 and banish all 3. Obviously, it does banish cards as well, so that can be quite effective. I just feel that with Brainwashing, as long as you maintain your hand advantage and put the right danger on the board, it will always be live. With DarkWorld Puppetry, it's probably like a card that will be live 80 to maybe 90% of the time, and at 10% it will be a completely dead card that I don't really want to be banishing anything in my opponent's graveyard, and it's one of the ones that I need to force myself to activate to get anything from it. And it's one of the ones where it's like, right, okay, I'm going to search off a snow. I can search Puppetry or Brainwashing, which one would I rather have? In this particular build, I'm going for Brainwashing, but I completely understand if you want to put Puppetry in here as well. I do feel that it's a really good card. I just don't feel that it has the consistency that I really want it to have. But like I said, use this as a structure, build it yourself, and go from there. The only other card that is included in the structure deck, sadly for the extra deck, is your 2 Grapha Dragons. You can play 3 if you want to. It's very rare you're going to need to. But this is where all of your money is going to go, I am afraid. So, for the Link monsters, I went with Cross Sheep. I haven't put IP Masquerena in here because it is like a £15 to £20 card, which is like, ugh. We've also got Muckraker, or Muckraker, as everyone keeps telling me to call it. Really good card. Now, a lot of people really don't like this, but there's so many people that don't understand the Zelantis combo. Now, last time I checked, Zelantis was like £5 to £7. It is a no-brainer to get this card. I think this card's incredible, especially when you combo it off with the Raka. Now, for those of you that don't know how the Raka combo plays, I've explained it a million times before, but the way it works is you make Zelantis. Now, Zelantis 9 out of 10 is going to come off the back of something like a Saruja, or if you really want to, you can hard summon the Zelantis. Absolutely fine. You then summon your Muckraker. Now, off the back of the Muckraker, what you're then doing is you then activate the effect to discard a card and then target a fiend in the graveyard, special summon it, and lock yourself into fiends. You then activate the Zelantis effect to banish the entire board. In doing so, you then bring back all the monsters as possible that were banished by its effect. Because you are bringing the cards back to both your field and your opponent's field, unless they are playing fiends, you can't bring them back to the board. So all you do is you basically sacrifice a Zelantis for an entire board banish, which I think is incredibly powerful. It's come up for me quite a few times, which is why I still love the combo and still use it, until someone tells me otherwise, or until the whole matchups become fiend orientated. I still think it's a really good option because your opponent could start picking away at your board. Yes, ideally what you're trying to do is push for an OTK, but if your opponent's got like loads of monsters in defense that can't be destroyed by battle, and you're like, right, well, how am I supposed to get rid of them? You can actually go Zelantis, Muckraker play, banish all of it, and then you can continue to make your plays with the rest of the dangers as long as they're fiends if you're going to be playing something like Chupacabra. But you can still reveal dangers even if they can't summon, just if you want to be discarding your... if you want to try and continue to discard your DarkWorld cards. So keep that in mind as well, that if I'm locked into fiends, I can still reveal Bigfoot until, like, so I reveal Bigfoot and Snow, and they discard the Snow. Obviously, Bigfoot cannot summon, but because I've discarded Snow, I still resolve Snow's effect to then search me out a card. Obviously, if I discard Beige, Beige comes to the board. I can then activate Catalyzer. Catalyzer can then come to the board. Overlay Catalyzer and Beige go into Daguerreo's because Daguerreo's is a fiend. Use Daguerreo's effect to target a fiend monster in the graveyard, bring it back to the board. Or, if I've had the ability to get an additional DarkWorld to the board already, whether it be special summon down through Saruja or whatnot, I'm then able to continue to make my plays, bounce everything back, get into a Greffa or a Rainbow, then use Daguerreo's effect to detach and make my Rainbow 6k. My opponent's board is already completely empty. I'm going to be swinging in for a 6k Rainbow, plus a 1000 Muckraker, plus a 1200 Daguerreo's. So straight away, that is a guaranteed OTK, and you've already banished their entire board. The only time you might go, I might need to play this a little bit differently, is if they play a Fiend and you give them the Fiend back. I've still got the one Unicorn, the one BLS, so this got a reprint in Mama. It's still just a really cool kind of boss monster that you can play as like a semi-mini towers, and it is cheap, so... And then the one Underworld Goddess, I advise everyone to get this because even if you are locked into Fiends, like I said, the combo is you're probably going to be using this more times than not, so you shouldn't need to worry about anything on the board. But if your opponent does have a towers, you still have a way to banish their entire board, and they're like, cool, I'm just going to sit on my towers anyway. You'll then still have an out to your opponent's towers even after you've locked yourself with Muckraker. Then for the XYZs, we are playing 4 level 4s and 4, well, technically 2 8s and 1 rank 1, but I'll explain those as we go. Abyss Dweller, Daguerreo's and Baguska. So sit under a shifter, defissure, macro, draw cards, trigger your DarkWorld cards, do everything you need to. Abyss Dweller, lock out of the graveyard. Pretty straightforward on that one. And then for the rank 8s, we've got the one Dragulabon with Hope Harbinger. So you've got a route to get Dragulabon on the board and Hope Harbinger from one rank 8 play, or you just make a single rank 8 play and go into Hope Harbinger. And then the final one to push for an OTK is your Numeron Dragon. If you don't like this engine, you can change that up. You can go for Boral Sword instead. Entirely up to you. But with this, it gives you the ability, because we are playing 3 level 8s in the form of Bigfoots and Thunderbirds, plus you've got your Rainbows and the Greffers, you're actually in a very good position to kind of play around with it and make rank 8s quite easily. If you want to start upgrading these, you do have stuff like the Coach Trainer. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'd much rather go for something like... I feel that if you're playing something like the Spooky Dogwood, it's more consistent because you have the ability of opening that up whether you're going first or second, and it kind of gives you a couple of different options as well for the build. Anyway, that is it for the budget build. If you want to see a side deck, whether that be for budget, just general side deck options actually, then smash this like button, get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, and I'll bring you a video that basically covers all of the side deck options for DarkWorlds being updated for the upcoming format, including Kashtira matchups as well. On top of that as well, I also kind of want to cover some spicy text. Like, you guys have been absolutely flooding my comments with spicy text that can be utilized in a DarkWorld deck, and I really kind of want to share them with everyone as well. So yeah, if you want to see that, make sure again you smash this like button, and getting it above 50 likes will unlock it for you. Anyway, for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.